Hello and welcome to the channel. I recently completed this artwork, if that's what you want to call it. I was trying to work on different character sheets for different body types. I personally feel like I failed because the idea that I had in mind, I was looking at some of the Zootopia character designs that some of these brilliant artists had made, and what they do really well is their shape language. And I was trying to figure out how to emulate that. Unfortunately, I felt like I did a pretty poor job of doing that, but this was an attempt of trying to break out of my normal linear style, I think, where I'm trying to be too focused on anatomy and how things function and stuff like that, moving to a more shape-oriented type style. One thing that I did learn throughout this exercise was that the characters in Zootopia, their feet look like human feet, or at least they're different from the way that I had been drawing it in the past, where I was trying to be too literal, trying to put like animal legs on a human body and make that work, but it wasn't working. So that was my one takeaway from this. The first figure that I'm trying to sketch out, I was trying to work with just rounded shapes. I'm just thinking that I've watched a lot of like courses in the past about shape language and how that's important. And if you want like a character to be like cuddly, you like give them a round shape, you know, because round shapes don't have like edges and they're not sharp and stuff like that. Just moving on to the line art now, trying to clean it up. I can't tell you how many times throughout this process that I just wanted to stop. I just wanted to quit. I was just like, this isn't working, this isn't what I want, I don't like this, you know. But I persisted because what else am I going to do? Start on a new page and draw the same thing over? I'm so known for doing that. It's so sad. Like, I'll have like so many different like sketches made, and they're essentially the exact same thing, drawn the exact same way without much variation at all. It's kind of sad. But I was just like, you know, come on, you know, you've finished some stuff in the past, just finish this, you know, just add it to your not repertoire, add it to your gallery. No, what's the word? Shoot. I'm not working from the script, so I'm just like looking for words to fill the space. I apologize. What is it? Portfolio. That's the word. But I was kind of, you know, semi-happy with the hands that I had drawn. Normally, most of my hands look a lot worse than this. You know, at least you can tell that there's fingers and they're like, you know, doing something. And as you can tell, I'm still trying to work with the rounded shapes, even for like the fingers and the paw pads as well. I still didn't capture the same type of energy that the Zootopia sketches had. There was some artists that I had watched their YouTube videos, and that they're talking about small, medium, and large shapes. And I was trying to like consider that while working on this, but overall I think that I had failed. I think in the future I'm going to try to work with less shapes instead of more. Try to get, you know, maybe only like 3 shapes and that's it. Art is hard, and you know, I'm really trying, but it's just like not working for me. Anyway, I feel like, you know, the pose was still pretty stiff. You know, the character wasn't very lively. But you know, some other artists, you know, they do T-poses with the character standing with their arms just straight up when they're doing character designs and stuff like that. Well, some. Others are like really good with the silhouette, which is something that I should have considered as well. You know, worked from the silhouette and then worked in. So that's something that I'm going to have to try in the future. Lately I've been like looking at my shadows on the wall, and you know, it got me thinking, you know, I should be like focused more on, you know, the overall shape instead of, you know, the individual limbs and stuff. But overall I felt like the legs and feet looked better than some of my previous iterations of doing characters like this. So I was kind of happy with that. I'm still like stuck because I'm somewhere between like an anime style and like a comic book style, and you know, maybe even like a quasi Disney style, but not really. While I was working on this, I was trying to picture, you know, where would this character like, you know, be featured in, you know? What is my art even good for? And, you know, I struggle with that a lot, because it's just like, you know, sure, you can draw a character and she's like standing up straight, but, you know, it's not telling a story, you know? I don't feel like very engaged, you know, I don't really want to know more about this character. I mean, me personally, I hope it's different from you guys. I know that every artist hates their own work, you know, so it's not just like a common problem to me. Man, keeping a running monologue going for so long is kind of difficult. I half joked that I would do some reading from the book that I'm reading, called Preston and Child, Dance of Death. I'm on chapter 25, and it's a pretty engaging story. But because I feel like there was like copyright issues with that, I probably can't do that. I also considered that I could play my piano in the background, but I don't feel like I'm good enough to like play continuously for like 25 minutes and it not sound, you know, bad. I think that I'm probably as good as a pianist as I am an artist, so if my art sucks, then I also suck on the piano. And if my art is somewhat good, then I must be somewhat good on the piano as well. But for this character, I went for more of a triangular shape, or at least I tried to, you know, emulate what a triangle shape was. And typically for shape language, triangles are, you know, for characters that are typically like evil or, you know, sharp, you know, maybe intellectual. So I was trying to keep a lot of like sharp lines in there, in the ears and the cheeks. You can see it around the eye sockets as well. Even the nose, I tried to keep triangular. And if you look closely into the eyes, the pupil is also triangular. But overall, I still feel like I'm failing because I'm relying too much on like anatomy studies and, you know, how the human body is supposed to look, or how a body is supposed to look, and less about, you know, the shapes. So I was trying to do something with all the neck scruffs. I was trying to get it into a triangular shape, but overall I felt like, you know, it was pulling away. You know, it was taking too much attention. So I decided that, you know, leaving it out might be a better idea. I didn't do a good job of like displaying any sort of like emotion on any of their faces, which is something that I need to work on as well. Overall, I need to like work on so much, to be honest with you. And I've watched tons and tons and tons of like YouTube videos, and I've looked at other people's art online, and I own like, you know, a bunch of books, and overall, like, none of it's really helping me, to be honest with you. You know, I'll watch like a YouTube video and they're just like, you know, this is how you draw this, and you know, I'll watch them draw and I was just like, well, I don't actually like your style, and I don't want to draw like you, you know, and I don't like the way that you did this, you know. And you know, what really irritates me is, you know, people that are just like, do you want to learn how to draw like this? Well, first thing you need to do is download this brush, you know, or, you know, other stuff. Like, I don't want to use, like, gimmick tricks and stuff like that. I want to figure out how to do it, you know, the way I want to do it. But I haven't exactly figured out exactly how I want to do it either. So, just moving on to the line art here. Just going to take a sip of my coffee here, excuse me. And hey, do me a favor. If you're watching this, can you leave a comment and let me know if you're getting harassed by ads? I'm currently not at a stage where I am monetizing any of my content, so I'm just like uploading it for free. Trying to go for that 1,000 subscriber creep, and then eventually I can try to monetize off my art. But I get the feeling that they're like putting ads every 1 to 2 minutes into the recording, which, to be honest with you, I think would make my content like unwatchable. I think overall YouTube is unwatchable if you have to watch ads. I mean, maybe back in the day when it was just like, you know, one ad at the beginning and one ad at the end, and who actually watches the ad at the end, so it's just the ad at the beginning, which is skippable, which isn't so bad. For the longest time, I was paying for YouTube Red, and because I was like always on YouTube, you know, listening to music. Some of the people that I watch like consistently, like Drawfee Extra, Secret Sleepover Society. I was watching Aaron Blaze for a bit, but I don't know, I sort of fell off. You know, he's a very good artist, and, you know, I bought like one of his courses once, and, you know, he's like terrific, but still, it's not really the type of like art that I want to make, I don't think. I haven't fully established. I've been trying to figure out, you know, who exactly I should try to follow. I mean, some of the Zootopia artwork that I showed you at the beginning, you know, I probably should find out who they are and like look through like their works and stuff like that, study from them. Maybe they do some courses or stuff. But I've been like watching so much different content on like YouTube and stuff like that, and it's been rough, you know. It makes me realize that nobody can quote unquote teach you how to draw. You have to do it yourself because you have to know what you want, or what you want to show, or something like that. It's not as simple as just like, oh, you know, you want to draw a rabbit? Draw 3 circles, and, you know, draw this. Do you know that old meme where it's just like how to draw a horse? And they're just like, you know, draw like 3 circles, draw stick legs, fill in the details, and suddenly you have a fully rendered horse. It's like that all the time. But this one, I was trying to go for more of a, excuse the background noise, can't do much about it, square shape for it. I don't like it because, you know, it doesn't, that's super obnoxious, but whatever. But it doesn't really look like a fox to me. Like, honestly, none of these really give fox energy to me. You know, this one gives more of a bear, to be honest with you. I don't know how to both just use shape language, simplify, you know, and also get the essence, and, you know, try to get to like character and flow and personality and facial expression. Like, it's too much to focus on all at once, to be honest with you. And, you know, some people have told me, you know, don't focus on all of those things at once, you know, focus it on, you know, things one at a time. You know, just focus on, like, you know, the expression for this one, or just focus on pose for this one, or just the shape language. And, well, I have a tendency of not doing what I'm told. So I was just like, how can I get it all in one? Still. I don't like the blank expressions that I have going for these. I felt like I didn't really do a good job of like putting the character, like giving it like real weight, look like it's actually standing up, you know. Something about the ground. There's this one artist that I've been watching, his name is KSM. He's streaming on Twitch. He's superior to me. And he recommends drawing the ground first and then putting the character on the ground. I hate all of this. Yeah, it was about this point that I was just going to quit and just say, you know, I'm just going to start over on a new page, you know, try to do a better job with like the shapes. But I was already like, 3 characters in, and I was just like, may as well just finish it. Just finish the sketches. Originally I wasn't going to even put color on it, but I was just like, I'm just gonna be lazy. I'm gonna slap in color. I'm not gonna be too precious about it. Just get it done, send it out. This one, the pose is a little weird. The face is a little weird. The arm is a little weird. But I was just like, just finish it. Who cares? Nobody's even gonna watch this anyway, so it doesn't even matter. So I guess my typical process is do the sketch, do the line art, and then do the flats, and then do the colors, which you'll see later on. This hand I wasn't too happy about. I was trying to, give variation between all 4 poses, so it wasn't like the exact same thing, 4 times over, because who cares? But eventually I want to get into storyboarding and stuff like that. So I have to do a better job of emulating, not emulating, but showing action and expression, having them do stuff, tell a story, because right now I'm not telling any sort of story at all. It's just here's 4 characters, they're all standing and they're just waving at the camera, just whatever, nobody cares. I don't care. But maybe it could be used for some sort of dating app type game, just yeah, this is a dateable character, something like that. Not that anybody would want to date any of these characters. Coffee. So yeah, but I wasn't too upset with the hands in all of these, even though that they were more or less simple. They're all just open, but I felt like they all look enough like hands, and they've got individual fingers, but I still need to simplify, even more. I don't like this one at all. It looks a little. I felt like I probably could have done better with forced perspective or something like that, which is what I was trying to do. I was trying to have the arm come forward, but it just wasn't working. I didn't like the ear fur either. Overall, I felt like I was doing a pretty lazy job with all of this, and I was pretty disappointed with myself. But I was just like, you just finish it. So, moving into color now. Unfortunately, I've always had the worst luck with closing my lines, so I've never been able to just click and select and drop in colors. So usually what I'll do is I'll color the entire thing, then I'll erase the colors outside of it to try to get the flats in. And the coloring process was a lot more methodological. No, that's not the word. Well, it might be the word. It was nice to do the coloring because the sketch was already there. I didn't have to worry about it anymore. You know, it was kind of like just filling in the coloring page. So I kind of enjoyed the process of that. I wasn't too particular with the colors, you know, I was just like slapping any random color on there, you know, if it was like a reddish or an orangish color. I've like watched a lot of like color theory classes and stuff like that in the past. And so I understand the idea, but I still haven't been able to figure out how I want to do it, you know, because I'm somewhere between like a cel-shading style and, you know, a lot of my sketches, like I work in ballpoint pen a lot of the time, so I'm used to like shading in with hatching and cross-hatching, which is completely different from this type of like cel-shading type artwork. Whenever I do digital, I like lean towards cel-shading, because I found that when I do like blending, you know, it makes it, you know, too realistic. And, you know, if the anatomy and stuff is bad already, and the character isn't that, you know, believable, then having too much like cel shading, too much quote-unquote realistic type painting style sort of like ruins the piece, because the anatomy is just like too wonky. I haven't figured out how that they do it in, you know, like the industry or whatever. Especially like when you like look at anime, especially recent anime, and how everything looks so like vibrant. So I'm struggling to figure out how they do it, and I've like watched different videos and stuff like that. There was like this one video for Naruto Land of Snow, behind the scenes how they made the movie. And so I watched the artists. They worked on like paper, and then they scanned into the computer, and then they did the lines, and then they did the coloring digitally. And I'm just like so annoyed because Kakashi's voice actor was there, and he was like talking about the process, and he just wasn't in character at all, and it just made me like Kakashi less. You know, it's just like, how dare this guy be the voice of Kakashi? You know, Kakashi's cool. You're less cool. But anyway, so just like slapped in some colors, did purple for the gloves and the leggies, did white for the fur under the chin, and the color actually did help improve overall the character design, I think. So it looks less, you know, whatever it looked like before. So what I would do is I would put like just slap in the color, then I would choose like a darker color, which I would it would be more saturated. So I would slide it to the right, and it would be slightly darker in value, and then I would go over and put another layer of that color on top, and then I would race back, trying to get that rim lighting type style. Overall, the lighting isn't specifically believable, but like I said, you know, I just wanted to be done with it. I just wanted to quit because I was hating how it was looking, and I was just like so displeased with it. And you know, I guess that I personally need to learn how to enjoy the process more, but in my current predicament, it's hard to like enjoy the artistic process when you're struggling to, you know, feed yourself, essentially, you know. I'm not, you know, a paid artist or anything, and it's just like so annoying when I like go on and I like look at other artists, and they're like, they'll do this artwork and they'll sell it for like, you know, $15, and I'm just like, for each, you know, it's just like $15 per character, and it took me what, 3-4 days to do this entire piece. It's just like, so 15 times 4, so 30, 60 bucks. Just like, where's that gonna get me? You know, a Subway sandwich is like $20. Now, McDonald's, you might be able to get like a meal for like $5, $6, $8. I don't know. And just like everything's getting more expensive. Just like rent is like overdue. It's just like, yeah. And then you have like people like Banksy who make these paintings that don't even look that good, get shredded, and somehow they're worth like, I don't know, plus $1 million. Like the original one was like $1.2 million, and I think after the painting got shredded, it was worth $32 million. And just like, okay, then I'll just shred this up, throw it in the trash can, pull it back out, and tell you it's $5 million, Or the people that are just like taping bananas to a wall and saying that that's $1 million. It's just like, I will go to the store, I will buy a crap ton of bananas, buy some duct tape, and I will stick it on like everywhere, and just like, okay, this is worth $1 million. I just can't. And all of these artists are just like underselling their work, and they're like so much better than me. It's just like, how do you survive? You must have like a day job, and I don't know. It stresses me out. Just like trying to think of myself as like, becoming a professional artist, which was, always the idea once upon a time, I would like come home every day after work, and I would like, I would draw, I would like watch videos, I would like paint. I would bring sketchbooks to work, and I would like sketch on my lunch break, and I was doing all of this because I thought that one day, I might become like an artist and animator. Well, I did become an artist, and I do know how to animate, just not as well as I would have liked, so I guess it worked. It just, I guess I never specified that I wanted to also be successful and live, a comfortably decent, nice life. Excuse me. Put some abs on this guy, because I didn't really put the tufts of fur that I had put on the other one's bellies. All of the colors are slightly different, one to the other, but it's hard to really tell because they all look pretty much similar, but they aren't actually, or at least I don't think that they are. Like if you color match, there'd be a lot of like different colors. This one has blue eyes, the last one, the triangle one, had dark eyes, because I forgot to actually leave a pupil color, so I just had it, be dark eyes, and the first one had green eyes. This one, while I was working on it, the color, it was kind of like glaring to look at it. I felt like it was probably because I chose a way more saturated color, but whatever. I chose blue instead of purple because I was trying to give like some variety, and just trying not to make it. I realized in retrospect that I forgot to color his nose. I was trying to give his nose like a shine, but I forgot to do that in the other one too, I guess. Anyway, here we are. But still, my character designs are not good enough, they're not like iconic. It's not like you would look at it and realize immediately right away, this is who this character is, this is what it's from, They look pretty generic to me. So in the next one, I'm going to have to like, I don't know, spend a lot more time in the gesture stages, working on shapes and stuff like that. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this one. Consider liking and subscribing, and I will catch you in the next one. Later.